every day without even realizing it, you might be losing a piece of your inner strength, not because of a grand failure, but because of a silent habit, one that slowly erodes your energy, weakens your willpower, and pulls you away from the life you were meant to live. In this video, we confront the uncomfortable truth, how unconscious indulgence is, especially in moments of instant gratification, are quietly destroying your potential. Through timeless Stoic wisdom, we'll uncover how to break free from invisible chains and reclaim your energy, clarity, and freedom. If you've ever felt stuck, unmotivated, or disconnected from your true self, stay with us, because sometimes the key to rebuilding your life is not about adding more. It's about facing what has been silently draining you today. We begin the journey back to mastery, resilience, and true inner freedom. What is secretly stealing your inner strength every day? There is an uncomfortable truth few are willing to face. Sometimes, our greatest enemy isn't out there, it hides within. In the seemingly harmless habits we repeat daily, an action quietly repeated in the background, slowly eroding energy, clouding clarity, and stealing precious self-mastery without us even realizing. If there were a habit silently draining your inner strength every day, would you dare to confront it? In today's world of instant stimulation, one habit traps millions of men: excessive masturbation, especially when linked to pornography. An act that seems harmless is, in fact, silently rewiring the brain, weakening the willpower, and pulling you away from living a purposeful, value-driven life. No one denies that pleasure is a natural instinct, but when this instinct is indulged without restraint, it doesn't merely sap physical energy. It erodes confidence, breaks down self-discipline, and slowly lowers the standards you once aspired to. Have you ever felt fired up after making grand plans, only to see all that motivation drained after one moment of indulgence? That's no coincidence. It's the result of a dangerous loop, stimulation-gratification collapse. Each time you repeat it, you deepen the dependency, trading away resilience for fleeting moments of pleasure. Even worse, your body and mind grow accustomed to easy rewards. The brain, designed to strive toward meaningful goals, becomes rewired to seek instant gratification. Not only does this weaken you physically, it also clouds your ability to think clearly, to make decisive choices, and to stand firm when real challenges arise. Each time you surrender to this habit, you silently accept an internal defeat, a defeat that makes no noise, witnessed by no one. Yet its consequences seep into every corner of your life, slowing your career, dulling your relationships, and allowing big dreams to be replaced by small moments of delay. It's not a single failure that destroys you. It's the repeated surrender so frequent that you don't even notice how much you've lost. If you feel your life lacks motivation, if you are directionless, or if you easily give up at the first sign of hardship, take an honest look. Are you letting unconscious desires steer your life instead of living by the values you once dreamed of? Because the truth is, every time you choose instant pleasure over long-term goals, you trade your inner freedom for invisible chains. And once those chains grow heavy enough, you will one day wake up and realize you've forgotten who you once longed to become. The good news is, at any moment, you can begin again. Through awareness, through conscious choice, by reclaiming control starting with the smallest of moments. The only question left is, do you have the courage to face this truth? When an unconscious habit becomes invisible chains, masturbation in itself is not evil. It is a natural part of being human, a normal biological reaction. But as with everything in life, the nature of an action does not determine its consequences. It is how we repeat it, how we relate to it, That creates the difference between a life of self-mastery and a life ruled by instinct. A small habit, if left unchecked, can turn into invisible chains. At first, you notice no change, a bit of entertainment, a moment of stress relief, a quick escape from temporary pressure, but over time, your brain learns whenever you feel stressed, bored, or lonely, you will seek out that fleeting gratification for relief. Gradually, this pattern sinks deeper into your mind. Masturbation ceases to be a conscious act. It becomes an unconscious reflex, a tool for escaping reality, a way to cover emotional voids you aren't yet ready to face. And at that moment, this habit is no longer harmless. It becomes a form of slavery, one you voluntarily accept. The danger of invisible chains lies here. They do not bind you with obvious force. They trap you with familiarity, with temporary comfort, until you forget the feeling of perseverance toward a long-term goal, forget the thrill of overcoming real challenges, and lose the ability to endure short-term discomfort for long-term value. Be honest. How many times have you delayed important work because you were tired? How many times have you sought cheap comfort instead of facing your fears or pressures head-on? How many times have you refused to step out of your comfort zone simply because inside you had grown accustomed to satisfying yourself instantly rather than nurturing inner strength? Even worse, every time you repeat this behavior, you're not just wasting time and energy, you are silently rewiring yourself, teaching your mind that short-term escape matters more than long-term goals, teaching your heart that temporary comfort is more important than true freedom, teaching yourself that enduring hardship is unnecessary as long as there's a quick way out. If you keep living this way, who will you become? A man too weak to fight for his ideals, a man who always seeks escape whenever life becomes tough, a soul lost in an endless rain of cheap gratification. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom does not come from indulging instincts. It comes from mastering them. A truly free man is not someone without desires. It's someone who, despite clearly recognizing his desires, still chooses to live by higher values. You cannot live purposefully if every day you are pulled away from your path by unconscious impulses. You cannot build resilience if every hardship makes you retreat into a simulated world. You cannot find inner freedom if instant pleasures dictate your actions. Change does not begin with fighting yourself. Change begins with awareness, realizing in each moment that every small choice is shaping who you are becoming. The choice between unconscious action or deliberate action. The choice between short-term satisfaction or long-term purpose. The choice between temporary ease or true freedom. It's time to stop treating small habits as harmless, because they are either building or quietly destroying the foundation of your inner strength every single day. How much longer will you allow unconscious habits to chain you down? Or will you start today dismantling those chains, bit by bit, through awareness, clear goals, and the courage to say no to easy escapes until you finally stand tall on your own feet, free and unshakable? The day decision is in your hands right now. 7 silent consequences that erode your willpower and spirit. Some consequences don't strike immediately. They gnaw away at you, little by little, until you realize you've lost some of the most precious parts of yourself. When excessive masturbation becomes an unconscious habit, it doesn't just impact your body. It begins to dismantle your mental system and inner strength, step by step, pulling you further from the man you could become. The first consequence is energy depletion and mental fog. Each time dopamine spikes and crashes afterward, you're not only draining physical energy, your mind becomes sluggish, lacking motivation. The goals that once excited you now seem vague and distant. Each day, wrapped in silent fatigue, you gradually lose the ability to pursue what truly matters. Second comes sexual dysfunction, especially porn-induced. Erectile dysfunction. Repeated exposure to unrealistic stimulation rewires your brain, diminishing its ability to respond to real human intimacy. You lose natural connection with others, and deeper still, the ability to experience genuine love. Third is a drop in testosterone, the hormone associated with strength, confidence, and masculine vitality. After each excessive ejaculation, testosterone levels crash for a time. Repeated often enough, you start feeling weaker, doubting yourself, and losing decisiveness precisely when it matters most. Fourth is the risk of premature ejaculation. When your body becomes conditioned to quick gratification, patience and control erode. This not only affects your emotional and physical intimacy, but also mirrors the loss of self-mastery in moments demanding endurance. Fifth, this heightened social anxiety and diminished self-confidence. Overindulgence in instant pleasure depletes oxytocin, the social bonding hormone. You begin to struggle with forming real connections, grow hesitant in interactions, and fear judgment. Gradually, isolation becomes your default state, trapping you deeper in the escape cycle. Sixth comes disturbed sleep and recovery. Each ejaculation spikes prolactin levels, disrupting deep sleep cycles. Without restorative sleep, your overall health, focus, patience, and psychological resilience slowly deteriorate. Lastly, the seventh and most dangerous consequence, psychological dependency. When you use instant pleasure to cope with pressure, loneliness, or fear, you lose the ability to face raw emotions. You no longer control yourself. You let instinct lead, instead of letting your rational mind and chosen values guide your actions. Each of these consequences, seemingly separate, are actually links in a vicious chain. Energy loss, mental dullness, loss of control, loss of purpose. Bit by bit, it shatters your willpower, weakens your spirit, and blows away the inner freedom you once had. To recover, willpower alone isn't enough to merely suppress external behavior. You must understand, each time you surrender to easy gratification, you're laying another brick in the prison wall around your mind. And each time you stand firm against short-term temptation, you're unlocking a door toward true freedom. Realizing this truth is the first step. Accept it and start acting on it today. Why stopping alone is not enough? Recovery begins from within. Stopping a bad habit is only the beginning, but merely abstaining has never been enough to truly change a person. Because if the root of the problem lies in your need to escape emotions, to seek instant gratification to fill inner emptiness, simply stopping the external action won't touch the core issue. You might manage to abstain for a week, a month, even longer. But if inside you still feel empty, still crave an escape from sadness, stress, or loneliness, then sooner or later, when hardship strikes, you'll return to the old habit, because you haven't truly changed the way you face yourself. What you need isn't just abstinence. What you need is a complete restructuring of your internal belief systems, values, and daily mental habits. You need to build a life with clear purpose, where you wake up not to avoid emptiness, but to move closer to meaningful goals. You must train clear thinking to distinguish what brings long-term value from what offers only short-term pleasure. You must cultivate resilience to stand firm in the face of temptation and adversity without being swept away. Most importantly, you must find inner freedom, a state where you are no longer a slave to impulsive emotions or unconscious desires. The journey of recovery begins when you realize It's not about fighting desire. It's about transforming it. Instead of letting that energy drain into instant gratification, you channel it into physical training, learning, creating, building your career, and growing yourself. Science has shown that when you master the urge for instant gratification, you activate brain regions responsible for self-control, long-term goals, and wise decision-making. You are, in a very real sense, training your brain to become stronger and more mature. But the road is not easy. There will be days you feel restless, empty, tempted to quit. In those moments, you must remember, discomfort is the sign that you are stepping beyond the old comfort zone, breaking through unconscious patterns that ruled you for too long. True recovery doesn't come from repressing yourself mechanically. It comes from daily mindfulness. When an urge arises, you pause, take a deep breath, and ask, does this action bring me closer to the man I want to become? If the answer is no, you know you must choose differently. Gradually, through every conscious choice, you will rebuild the inner strength you had lost. You will feel the difference not only in your body, but in how you think, act, and face life. You will no longer be a victim of impulse. You will become the true leader of yourself. And one day, looking back on the journey, you will realize recovery is not about giving up a bad habit. It is about reclaiming mastery over your life. When you master yourself, you reclaim true freedom and strength. There is a simple truth that many forget. The greatest power does not lie in controlling the external world, it lies in mastering the inner world within yourself. When you conquer impulsive urges, when fleeting desires no longer dictate your actions, you begin to feel a very different kind of power, the power of inner freedom. A freedom that cannot be bought with money, cannot be borrowed from others, but can only be earned through daily discipline and awareness. Every time you overcome an urge, every time you reject easy pleasure to stay loyal to a greater goal, you rebuild your self-respect, your confidence, and your strength of character. No longer dragged by emotional tides, you become the captain of your own ship, even when the seas rage. Self-control is not repression, it is liberation. Because when you are self-possessed, you are no longer chained to any habit or emotion. You are free to act according to your values and life goals, rather than merely reacting mechanically. When you master yourself, you also regain decisiveness. You know what you want. You act for meaningful things. You are no longer distracted by hollow temptations. Clarity of mind becomes a sharp weapon, helping you move through hardship with steady hands and clear sight. Above all, you awaken a deep resilience long buried. Each time you refuse the easy way, each time you embrace short-term discomfort for long-term growth, you are training yourself to stand firm through adversity. You no longer seek escape, you learn to endure, to confront, and to grow stronger through every challenge. This is the true essence of freedom. Not doing whatever you feel like, but being strong enough to choose the right path, even when it's the hardest. When you master yourself, you cease to be a victim of emotion, circumstance, or fleeting desires. You become the author of your own life. Each conscious choice you make is another line you inscribe onto the blank page of your destiny. Never underestimate the power of small moments of self-mastery, because it is precisely those moments, accumulated over time, that forge an unshakable spirit. Starting today, reclaim that control, not for anyone else, for yourself, for the freedom you truly deserve. When life energy is directed toward the right purpose, your life energy is always there. The question isn't whether you have energy, it's where you are directing it. When you allow your energy to be drained by fleeting satisfactions, you end up feeling empty, tired, and disconnected from meaning. But when you direct that same energy toward real goals, your life transforms at the very foundation. Beneath every instant, craving lies a raw power waiting to be awakened. The instinct to seek pleasure, when uncontrolled, turns into weakness. But if refined and directed, that very same energy can become the driving force behind personal growth, career achievements, and life purpose. When you redirect your life energy, you no longer chase external stimuli. Instead, you focus on building health, knowledge, career, meaningful relationships, and most importantly, building your character. Energy properly directed turns lonely hours into time for self-mastery. It turns impulses into motivation. It transforms temptations into opportunities to prove your resilience. You don't have to battle yourself in fear or guilt. What you need is a clear destination, a goal so meaningful that petty cravings pale in comparison. When you have a clear goal, every time you resist an impulse, you don't feel deprived. You know you are choosing a reward far deeper, far more lasting. Redirecting your energy is also about establishing personal discipline. You forge small, consistent habits, waking early, training your body, endlessly learning, keeping your mind sharp and centered. These small acts, accumulated over time, create a fortress of inner strength. Remember this: if you don't direct your energy toward meaningful goals, the world will gladly divert it into trivial distractions, and you will lose your strength without even realizing it. Don't let that happen. Choose to build. Choose to shape your life. One choice, one action, one day at a time. Because it is from those quiet moments of steadfastness that a truly great life is born. Becoming unshakable, no one is born strong. Inner strength is not a gift. It is forged through countless small choices, through every refusal of the easy way, through every confrontation with emotional storms where you refuse to collapse. Becoming unshakable doesn't mean you never feel temptation or weakness. It means that even in those moments, you remain anchored in your principles. You are not swept away by fleeting pleasures, fears, or cheap lures. The unshakable man understands his own weaknesses, but does not let them lead his life. He knows desires will come and go, but values great goals. And inner freedom must be guarded as sacred. True steadfastness is not measured by how much temptation you avoid, but by how you face it. When confronted with an urge, the weak find excuses, the strong find reasons to stay true. Which one will you be? Each moment you stand between ease and integrity. You are not merely deciding an action. You are shaping who you will become. Each time you reject short-term gratification to hold on to your values, you are training your soul. Each time you endure hardship to stay true to a long-term goal, you are strengthening the foundations of a freedom no storm can shake. This path is not glamorous. It is lonely, quiet, often invisible to others, but it is the most worthwhile journey of all, because the ultimate reward isn't applause or admiration. It's the unshakable self-respect you earn by living true. Becoming unshakable means you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. The way you live, the way you silently stay loyal to your values is the most powerful statement you will ever make. When emotional storms rage, others will be swept away. You will not. When the world turns chaotic, others will lose their way. You will hold your course because you know inner freedom doesn't come from controlling the outside world. It comes from mastering your own inner world. You've already walked a long journey. You've recognized the hidden habits that weakened you. You dared to face the truth, to reject cheap pleasures, to embrace the demanding road of self-mastery. Now you are becoming someone new, stronger, clearer, freer. This path will continue. There will still be trials, inner battles. But now, you have a firm foundation beneath your feet. You are no longer easily swayed by passing winds. You are becoming a steady mountain, calm amidst the storms. And that is the most beautiful image of a truly free soul. But remember, inner strength isn't achieved in a single moment of decision. It is built over thousands of small moments when you choose value over pleasure, patience over ease, courage over escape. Each morning you rise and live true to your mission. You lay another brick in that fortress. Each time you overcome an urge without giving in, you strengthen the armor of your mind. And each night you sleep with pride in how you lived that day. You send a deep signal to your soul that you have become and are still becoming the man you once only dreamed of being. Unshackability is not a destination. It is a way of life. A life where every thought, every act, every decision reflects the freedom and strength you have forged with your own hands. And when others look at you, they won't just see outward success. They will feel something far more powerful. The presence of a man who has conquered the most difficult enemy of all himself.